The last expansion for Naruto Storm 4. It came with new characters, new missions, and mechanics. The last bite of Naruto Storm we would get with a really long time. We are finally in the last chapter of the series. We have played and talked about all these games during the last months, and it's time to take a final look to the last material of Naruto Storm from CyberConnect known to this date. Welcome to the final review. Welcome to Road to Boruto. This story kicks off in a pretty risky way. He can be anyone, Naruto's son, but he is calling idiot the hero we have been controlling for almost 10 years on these Storm games. It's a quote that puts you in a defensive behavior from the beginning. But anyway, that's a risk that Kishimoto and his movie took before the publishing of this game, so it doesn't make much sense talking about the lack of empathy we would be experiencing with our protagonist, because in fact, this expansion is technically mirroring the 2015 Boruto movie. That's why I decided to talk about its mechanics and the game experience itself, and not that much regarding the narrative side of things. Here in Road to Boruto, they allow us to explore the village in a post-war state long time after the events of Naruto Shippuden. It's an identical control sense to the adventure mode of the base game, but also features the unique missions this expansion has. Boruto is not the only playable character on this title and the adventures around the village, but you also can play with characters like Sarada. The game's art doesn't change much from the world's perspective, but it changes in essence. Something that this expansion does pretty well is the representation of a more modern ninja world and in peace, something that Kishimoto wanted to create after the World Great Ninja War. From the highlighted colors of the world all the way to the uniform changes of the shinobis, it feels indeed like a different time period. The level design across this new game mode settles around an open world that gives you the option to complete some secondary missions available between main quests, something that gives an illusion of freedom. We note that despite this, there are exclusive story mode battles like the training with Konohamaru, the third preliminary round of the Chunin exams against Jurui and Shikadai. Each match, without being unique on their style like we saw with some iconic battles from the base story mode, they present some actions that can't be seen in other game modes. The use of ninja tools from Konohamaru's part, Yurui's chewing gum, and Shikadai's shadow jutsus. All of them are animations and abilities that are only available in versus mode by using a PC mod. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible. Apart from characters like Momoshiki and Kinshiki, we have the 10 Boruto task on secondary missions. It's a segment with 10 filler missions that offer a little reward at the end, a battle against Naruto Hokage with some flashbacks and quick time events in order to finish the legacy that Naruto left on the new generations. To finish with the secondary mission part, you can use any character you want in some of them, as is usual in Naruto Storm games. Now let's move on to something that seemed very well executed from the developer's side, the Chunin exams. We know it's not that suicide mission that the characters had to overcome back in 2002, but it is a very good way to add new elements to an already settled game style that the Storm games have. The first phase of the exam is this written exam, and in fact we have to study for the exam previously. This is possible thanks to the villager NPCs. The map will let you know which villagers have useful information that you can discuss with them in order to study. Even though a Naruto fan could already know the answers to all these questions, it's a good and creative way of using in-game elements and involve them for the story development. I love these little tiny details, even though for many could seem insignificant, mainly because I have experimented how difficult it is to program a video game. I couldn't even recreate the Snake mobile game on my programming course a couple of years ago, and I could only imagine how much effort and time these people invest on their game. After answering the questions and improving the exam, we get to the next challenge, the flag recollection. We have to reach a certain amount of flags before time runs out. Meanwhile, your teammates can communicate with you to share some clues to where the next flag probably is. In my opinion, this second phase is too simple for the amount of stuff that is happening at the same time, something that at the end cannot be appreciated due to its rhythm, but it is a recursive way of adding already existing elements from the base game to ultimately add more missions. And talking about already existing elements in the game, the amount of quick time events that could easily easily be one of the main reasons I love the Storm game's story modes were significantly reduced here. If I'm not mistaken, there are just 2 of them in total in the whole experience. It's something that felt like a missing factor, I can't deny it. It could have been perfect for moments like Naruto and Sasuke fighting on their base forms against Momoshiki. But we can't deny either that there are some pretty good aspects of this DLC, like the inclusion of a new Boruto, one that was only focused on the ninja tool, a completely different moveset that in fact is great for competitive purposes in online matches, creating a new character from scratch in order to represent something relevant from the story, like the fact that Boruto was cheating all this time is awesome. The final battle against Momoshiki is frenetic and with a simple but flashy combat system. The moments where we can experiment with the new moveset of Sasuke and Naruto are very limited, but that is something we will see later on. The moment their stakes shines the most is in the final boss battle against Momoshiki and the Stone Monster. This battle is filled with new abilities, quick time events, and good old cinematics. The final duel and Grey Sponge from Boruto finishes in an amazing way the representation of this movie that in my opinion caught its essence pretty well. To summarize this, the similarities from Road to Boruto and the movie are a lot and are enjoyable to watch. This expansion lasts an average of 3 hours and the secondary missions can enlarge the experience a little bit more, but it is still filler game time. To be honest, I wouldn't have bought this DLC when it came out with his $20 price. It seems a lot of money for an experience that gives you so little story time. Right now, Bandai Namco constantly publishes game deals for this game saga, especially Storm Legacy, which I really recommend. It has almost all the DLC included from Storm 4 and with an amazing price. The visual improvement compared to what we saw on the base Storm 4 game is not even noticeable. It doesn't show anything new mechanics, and well, it's understandable to a certain point, but sometimes I just can't stop thinking that CyberConnect struggles a lot with creating a solid exploration game mode, something that would put the engine to the limit, because the FPS drops and the lack of fluency is evident to the gameplay itself sometimes. The characters like Momoshiki and Kinshiki were not created to be playable characters at first. That would change a couple of years later with the last DLC known to this date that brings these 2 characters finally as playable ones, but they have additional cost. It's not a free update. Getting back to Road to Boruto, let's move on to the new characters and scenarios this expansion gave us. We now have 3 additional scenarios: the village on this modern era, the Chunin exams stadium, and the final boss battle zone. All the new characters for the game, not only the Road to Boruto ones, but the previous and future DLCs are Naruto the Last with that top tier support jutsu, Sasuke the Last, a very popular character on multiplayer matches. Both of them have the movie costumes, but their moveset was exactly the same. Hanabi, Hinata's little sister, Pre-Order Boruto and Sarada, these are the ones that we mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Sound 4 ninjas, Jirobo, Kidomaru, Sakon, and Tayuya. They are all playable characters and not only support ones as happened before in the first Storm and Generations. We also have the Boruto from the expansion, Sarada of Road to Boruto, Mitsuki, Naruto Hokage, one of my favorite characters, talking about his moveset on a visual level. We have Sasuke from this expansion that now manages a moveset much more focused on his Rinnegan abilities. At last but not least, Momoshiki and Kinshiki, the last characters on this enormous roster. In addition, we would get some new skins for many characters like Hinata, Shikamaru, Sakura, Shino, Choji, Tenten, and Kakashi. It's worth highlighting that many of these new characters came with new team ultimates. Naruto with Boruto, the 4 Sound Ninjas, Boruto and Sarada, Sasuke and Naruto the Last, the Hyuga team ultimate. There are a lot to choose from. Without doubt, it's something very appreciated. Finally, the game lost rhythm with his updates and the community was reducing in numbers slowly. A community that is still active, yes, but is not as large as it once was. They keep waiting for a new Storm title, and until that day, we still have this game legacy. It has a lot of flaws, bugs, server issues, lack of planning. Every game has them, and this one is not the exception. But it was a video game saga that marked a lot of people's childhood and youth, no matter where you played it: PS3, Xbox 360, PS4, Xbox One, PC, or Nintendo Switch. We all make part of this legacy of players that will always remember these great titles, and I'm glad I'm part of this community. Thank you guys so much for the support. This was the last chapter of the series. This was the Storm Saga. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and see ya.